This video is made in partnership with MOFT. It's been 5 months since I switched from using the M4 iPad Pro to using the iPad Mini 7 as my go-to tablet. I use this thing every day for almost everything. It's my planner, my sketchbook, my e-reader, my entertainment device, and I even use it for casual gaming. I've honestly used it more than I thought I would. The main draw for getting an iPad Mini over its bigger siblings is its form factor. This 8.3-inch device is so approachable and really convenient to use, but of course, it's not perfect. So in this video, I'll share how I've been using the iPad Mini over the past few months, what I like about it, and what I think could be improved. But first, if you enjoy watching this video, please consider subscribing. I always start my work week by sitting at my desk or dining table to plan my week. Writing my to-do list helps me clear my mind, organize my thoughts, and stay on top of my weekly tasks, and the iPad Mini has been my planner. Every Monday morning, I look at my Google and Notion calendar and take note of any appointments or deadlines that I have, and then I write it down on GoodNotes. One of the best things about having a digital planner and notebook is that I can access my files anywhere. I have the cellular version, so I always have internet connection with this device. So whenever I'm out running errands and a thought pops into my head, I can capture those ideas. And I love the fact that I always have my to-do list, so I can always refer to them. In the past, I was using the Analog by Ugmonk as my to-do list, which is still one of the best systems I've found for a desk setup, but the iPad Mini offers convenience, which is honestly worth the trade-off for me. I did install a paper-like screen protector to have a better writing experience, and if you've watched any of my iPad videos, then you already know that this is a must-have accessory for me. My wife and I are currently under contract for a duplex, and one of the units need minimal upgrades to it, and the other unit needs a lot of work since it's practically down to the studs. I'll definitely do an empty house tour, so stay tuned. But the reason I say this is I've been wearing my architect hat more than I have in recent years, and the iPad Mini has already proven to be a really great tool for this project. I've been able to do admin tasks like responding to emails, reviewing contracts and bids efficiently. I did an as-built drawing of the property so we can plan the renovation well, and using the iPad Mini made this process a lot easier since it's a lot more manageable. I was able to comfortably hold the iPad Mini on one hand while using my other hand for the laser measure and Apple Pencil. Speaking of the Apple Pencil, the iPad Mini is compatible with the new Apple Pencil Pro, which has new features like haptic feedback, barrel roll, hover and squeeze, so sketching on it has been a lot more enjoyable. I've been sketching a few ideas like how to improve the layout of the space, and I think it's really clutch that I'm able to share those sketches to the contractor directly from my iPad Mini. And I know that as we get further along in the renovation process, I'll use the iPad Mini even more. For example, we need to research and pick products that are durable, aesthetically pleasing, and cost effective. We'll likely need a 3D model so we can problem solve some issues on site. And since we're completely redoing the electrical layout of one of the units, I'll definitely need to draw up an electrical plan so we get exactly what we want. And surprisingly, despite the smaller screen size of the iPad Mini, I have no issues doing all of those tasks effectively. However, using the iPad Mini as a presentation tool can be a bit of a struggle. It works fine for meetings with 1 or 2 people, but the screen is too small for larger groups to view. So if that's a big part of your usage, then the 11-inch model might be better for you, especially since the iPad Mini doesn't get as bright as the Pro models, so it's also been tricky to use in bright environments. Since I use my iPad for all sorts of different things, finding a case that can meet all of my needs can be quite tricky. But after trying MOFT's Dynamic Folio, I'm super impressed. It's the most versatile iPad case I've ever seen. It's super light and it offers a ton of viewing modes for different scenarios like sketching, watching content, dual screen, and many more. I know it looks a little intimidating, but MOFT made it really easy to get started. Simply match up the 2 lines or 2 circles, and that's it. When sketching, I like using the creation mode as it raises the iPad about 2 inches or so I don't have to hunch over. I find this to be the most comfortable angle for sketching at my desk, and sometimes I just leave it in this mode when I'm referring to documents and I know I'll be using my Apple Pencil at any point. What's cool is how easy it is to switch to a different angle. For example, I can quickly transition to theater mode by simply lifting up the iPad. I like using this when I'm watching a tutorial or something while editing, or most of the time I just have my planner pulled up to keep my to-do list easily visible. It puts the iPad Mini at an ideal height that's easily seen but not in the way. This mode is also perfect for watching content while doing stuff around the house. It doesn't take as much footprint, so you can place it almost anywhere, and the magnets are super strong, so I've never worried about its stability. When I need to review a document or a contract, there's an 80-degree viewing angle mode that gives me a perfect viewing angle, and it's also a comfortable and intuitive way to read my ebooks while on the couch. And when I need to use my iPad on the go, there's a lap mount mode which offers a really comfortable experience. Another angle I use a lot is the dual screen mode, which you might have seen earlier in this video. This is my go-to for planning and researching. It allows me to refer to documents using my phone and reserve the full screen real estate of the iPad mini for my main task. If you're worried about misplacing your Apple Pencil, you can even add this magnetic pencil holder to secure your Apple Pencil to your iPad while maintaining its charging capability. Compared to other cases I've used in the past, the dynamic folio is not only lighter, but it also offers so much more angles that meets my needs as an architect, content creator, and a business owner. It's made out of this beautiful MOFT leather that's durable and scratch resistant, and I honestly think it's a no-brainer. This will be my go-to iPad case moving forward, and if you want to check it out, I'll have links in the description below. I can't tell you the last time I finished reading a book. I'm more of an audiobook kind of guy, but this year my goal is to read a little bit more. And the iPad mini has been a great e-reader. It's about the size of a book, so it's very easy to pick up and start reading. It's also pretty light, so you can use it one-handed while you sip your coffee or something in the morning. It's honestly really good. I know a lot of people are concerned about jelly scrolling, but in my personal experience, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I can't even say that it's bothered me at all. But if you're unsure, just try it out in an Apple store before making a decision. The iPad mini has pretty much the same panel as last year, which was kind of disappointing. But despite not having an OLED display, watching on the iPad mini is still very enjoyable. It has great colors, rich contrast, and this 8.3-inch screen gives a better viewing experience than a typical slab phone without being overwhelming. For example, it's been my go-to device for watching F1. Sometimes the race is really early in the morning and I don't feel like getting up or watching on the TV, and using this to watch in bed is really perfect. I have the F1 TV Premium subscription, which allows me to have the multi-view feature, and even though this is only an 8.3-inch screen, I feel comfortable using that feature. I also love using the iPad mini when I'm doing stuff around the house. I can walk away from the iPad mini and still see what I'm watching relatively well. And it even has great speakers for listening to music. Granted, it doesn't get as loud as an iPad Pro, but definitely good enough for casual listening. And of course, it's also really great for traveling. During our last trip, this was the device we used to watch movies on the plane, and I felt like it was the perfect size, so this will likely be our travel entertainment device moving forward. One issue people have with the screen of the iPad mini is the lack of ProMotion or 120 Hz. And I'm definitely one of those people. I definitely have this on my wish list. However, I have to admit that even though most of my devices have 120 Hz, I've gotten used to the 60 Hz of the iPad mini for everyday use. However, having that 120 Hz refresh rate to pair with the A17 Pro chip would be really nice to have. The iPad mini is able to run games like Warzone Mobile really well. I've been able to run the games with pretty high settings with a little stutter, but the gameplay is generally smooth. Since the return of Verdansk on console and PC, I've been playing a bit more Warzone Mobile so I can level up my weapons, and playing on the iPad mini with the GameSir controller is pretty awesome. The experience is comparable to the PlayStation Portal and the Legion Go. If you've been thinking about getting a handheld gaming device, this might be worth considering. Aside from the games that you can play from the App Store or Apple Arcade, you can now run emulations on the iPad mini, which is pretty cool. It's not something I've personally explored yet, but I know a lot of people who enjoy using their iPad mini for this purpose. Another way I utilize my iPad is as a second monitor. I'm currently using a 27-inch studio display in my setup, and for the most part, I think it gives me the right amount of screen real estate. But there are times when I need just a little bit more, and the iPad mini has been perfect for that. I don't necessarily extend my display or anything like that. I simply use universal control so I can use the same mouse and keyboard to interact with my iPad. Typically, I do this when I'm following a tutorial while I'm editing, or when I'm editing at night and I want to watch a show at the same time. Of course, you have the option to extend or mirror your display, but for my workflow, I don't find that necessary at all. Speaking of workflow, one of the things I use my iPad mini for is scripting and researching. I find it to be a really great tool for researching for a YouTube video. The screen is big enough to have two windows open. I can have notes on one side and browser on the other, and still feel very comfortable using it. However, one big frustration for me is you can't do a top-bottom split screen. Why this isn't possible on an iPad, I'm not sure, but I think it's a missed opportunity. When I'm using the iPad on the couch or on the go, I like using the iPad mini in portrait mode, and it's a shame that I can't multitask properly in this orientation. So those are the ways I've used my iPad mini the past few months. It's been a jack of all trades kind of device, and in a way, I think that's what makes it unique. Before buying it, I had ideas in my head about how it could replace and improve different things in my life. And now that I'm a few months into owning the iPad mini, it's crazy to see that it's working out even better than I thought. And honestly, I can't help but recommend this thing. So if you're on the fence, I say give it a chance. And if you already have one and you're just watching this video because you love the iPad mini, let me know in the comments below some of the ways that you use yours. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you loved it, subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.